listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talk podcast show. Mark and Ken.
What's up?
On episode 225 of the Shite Talk podcast show.
There you go.
How are you, Ken?
I'm okay.
Yeah, we have an interesting show for listeners today.
Yeah, quite interesting.
We have something that very rarely happens on the podcast.
What's that, Marky?
An apology, an admission of wrongdoing will be coming up later on our Idiots of the Week. It still makes our Idiots of the Week, and we're not saying we are the idiots.
Yeah, I wonder, does this make us idiots?
No, because we're kind of, in one sense, we're saying, okay, we got it wrong here, and we need to apologise to people. And on the other hand, we're doubling down, no, but we actually still think we're right. So we're kind of saying we're sorry, but we're not sorry kind of a way, but we'll cover that in our Idiots of the Week at the end of the show. And I wonder if our listeners could guess what story is that we're apologising for.
Well, there's one listener that definitely knows what story it is we're apologising for.
Yeah, he might know. He might be shouting at his phone right now. But like, if you take back of what we talked about in last week's show, all the stories that we talked about, any number of those we should probably have apologised for, or then doubling down on. So, if people haven't listened to last week's show, pause this one now, go back, listen to that one. Ask yourself while you're listening, what will they be apologising for of last week's show? Because there's any number of things what we talked about last week's show that we could have even apologised. But it's on our Idiots of the Week, and we're not the idiots. That's all we're saying. Well, maybe we are idiots.
Well,
we're idiots in general, but not because of this story.
Okay.
Hey, do you agree with this?
Yeah, we can go with that one.
Yeah, we have a lot of revisiting actually to do. I think this show's podcast title is probably going to be Shite Talk Revisited.
Throwback.
Shite Talk Throwback. I like Revisited.
Revisited.
Because we're not, I guess we are rehashing old stories. So,
but we're not. We're adding new information.
We're adding well, I don't know about a lot of it. So, I think all of our stories actually, literally all of our stories are either something that we were meant to talk about and we just didn't, or that we've previously talked about and have now given the people in the stories quirky little nicknames. So
who got a quirky little nickname?
All of them, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Sex doll guy.
Yeah.
This is a guy who married a sex doll that he met in a pub, then cheated on her with several other sex dolls, left her, but they're still friends, and is now in what do you call the relationship where there's multiple
polyamorous or something.
Yeah,
like that.
polyamorous or polymorphosis or something like that. A relationship with several sex dolls, and we have an update.
something that Mark's going to destroy saying anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of realised something like what I can do with this whole I can't pronounce things right. Just say it with confidence, because if I don't question myself, somebody else is probably not going to question it unless they're dead set and they know what the name is. Actually, we've one story that's new. But I'll get to that in a second. Then we have Farting Girl. This is the girl who is currently farting in a jar for a living. I'm making quite a good, substantial living. This has been our story of 2022/end of 2021.
Yeah.
She's our new Dave the Duck.
Yeah, just a story of the year stuff.
Yeah, we're going to have jars with this fart in it, this fart sense, and a duck, and to sell them on our shop website that we don't have.
That we do now.
That will have some kid in the Eastern European countries or Asia to design it for dirt cheap. So we're talking about that. Then last year I left people on tenterhooks. I left them on tenterhooks for a week if they are really that emotionally invested in what serial killer is my favorite serial killer. So I completely we recorded a podcast pretty late at night. I think it was 8 o'clock. So I don't even know what I really said during that podcast. It was just a blur. Like I said, we probably should be apologizing to more people, and I don't think we are apologizing, but we're not really apologizing. So anyway, I didn't tell people who my favorite serial killer. This is in case people didn't listen to the show. This is like previously during the year, Ken mentioned he had his favorite serial killer. I think it was Ted Bundy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he asked me who my favorite serial killer, and initially he didn't tell me that he had a favorite serial killer. So I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't have a favorite serial killer. I think that was the safe option." But then when I realized that Ken had a favorite serial killer, I felt dumb. So then I was like, "Oh, I really need to find a favorite serial killer." And I used the same process that I use everything: go home ugly early. And I just came across my favorite first serial killer and go, "Yeah, he'll do." And now he's my favorite serial killer.
Like, I suppose a favorite serial killer is probably like the wrong way to describe it. It's
definitely the wrong way to. It's definitely the wrong way. It's definitely the wrong way to word it. It should be the most interesting. I don't think it's we have posts. I'd be very surprised if you had a poster on your wall of Ted Bundy.
Okay.
But people do have a weird fascination of Ted Bundy.
Do you not have a poster of Ted Bundy on your wall?
No, I've one of Muhammad Ali though. I wake up to it every morning, staring at him, looking down at me. With angry intent.
Yeah, poster of Ted Bundy is right beside my poster of Sports Science. Sports Science Weekly.
Yeah, so anyway, we were talking about that story. Then we'll move on to our Idiots a Week, where we have... Oh yeah, this is also something that we haven't talked about, but a man has tried to impress his girlfriend and failed very, very miserably.
Yeah.
Can you remember a time where you tried to impress Aideen and it just fell flat on his face?
Not really.
not that I want to mention on the podcast.
I think I can't really think of it.
No, nothing like off the top. There's probably been times where you're disappointed or trying different things, but there's nothing that sticks out like a sore thumb. That's what you're saying. No,
I can't think. Like, there's definitely shit that I've done that has been like, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah. I think I'd follow that. I've definitely tried to impress people, and it's just not worked. I mean, like, what do you mean you don't like that?
You don't like Elvis?
And then we'll be talking about our story that we're going to be apologising for. I'm going to leave this in cloud of mystery of what it actually is for people, but then we'll have our apology story, which is also on our Idiots a Week. And already it's a quite long show. And then our final story will be a woman who travelled 500 miles to try to pass a driving test, Ken.
Like, why did she travel 500 miles?
This will be explained in our Idiots of the Week. She had several reasons, but it's very good. I was reading up this morning. I was really tired. I had no energy, and even in my lack of like enthusiasm to do research, I was like, "This is a very good story. I am on board with this story." Usually, I'm just like copy paste. I don't even know what I'm copying and pasting at this stage. I'm probably going to make a mess of this on here. And that's how we do the show. But that's our show today.
What more do you want?
Yeah, I think, like I said, there's probably something in there for everybody.
There's nostalgia, there's apologies, there's...
acknowledging of mistakes that we made in the past. And then doubling down. We will not be changing. We will not be changing our ways as well. Doesn't get people like, I like the way they are.
Yeah, don't worry.
Don't worry, don't change. So we'll get on to talking about the sex doll guy, because we haven't talked about him in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of fill people in before we get into it on how we first came across this guy. I know we mentioned a little bit at the intro.
Yeah, so like he, I can't remember. Was he in a relationship before he met this fucking guy?
I think he's like he's a bodybuilder, and
Yeah, he's a bodybuilder from some mad country. His name is
no,
Yuri
I think he's from the UK.
Polochko.
Is he not from
Is
the
he?
UK?
I don't know where the fuck he's from.
I don't know. He's he's a
He's from
citizen
some
of the
fucking place.
earth.
Kazakhstan.
Okay, as well off. I think if I can remember correctly, he's a bodybuilder, and he's seen some guy messing with the sex doll that's in a pub in Kazakhstan, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
came to her its defense, and then I don't know if he offered to buy the sex doll off the bar, and pub was like, yeah, go on, whatever. But managed the pub ended up giving it to him anyway, and he took it home. And her name is Margaret, and she had like self-esteem problems. He'd manifest all these like problems with her, and they end up having a huge fight. Which I said, like, this is all in his head. He's just manufacturing this. Like, even in a relationship where he controls the narrative, he's having fights with a girl. Kind of gives like a little bit of insight into his psyche. But
and there's a left field kind of turn here coming up, right?
Yeah.
Because I know, did we mention it? Was it off air we mentioned it, or was it in the intro we mentioned that he did go off with like an inflatable chicken?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He left her because for kind of a hybrid of a half sexual person, half chicken. As like its lower half is the chicken, its upper half is the human, I think. But it was like a hybrid of sex doll.
And he ended up marrying that Margot sex doll.
Yeah, and they're still friends as well.
Yeah, I don't know how he managed to marry it, but whatever. And he actually fell in love with an ashtray.
What?
Yeah, he fell in love with an ashtray.
Fell in love with an ashtray. Like, I don't know. Like, is this guy just getting money from these stories? Is he like has an Instagram that people are following, particularly sites that we like cover a large part of our news we get from this? Like, are they just like giving him money to keep doing weird shit? Because clearly it's working.
he fell in love with an ashtray, and
how did that go for him?
I don't know. There's not really much details on them.
Like, was he a smoker to begin with? Like he kind of strikes me as the vaping kind.
He kind of strikes me as just a gobshite.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
But he fell in love with an ashtray, and then he's now he got married to two new younger sex dolls called Lola and Luna.
All right.
And he's taken to the internet to share his bedroom habits. So the two sex dolls that he's currently married to are so much younger than him that he's finding it hard to keep up with them.
Yeah, like in a way, we call him idiots and we're slagging him off, but he might be actually ahead of the curve here. Because, like, isn't there like people complaining that in the future AI technology and like robot technology is going to get so advanced that we're going to see more and more people having relationships with artificial dolls? We already see people like this crazy fucker, but I think he's doing it for like comedic effect almost. Like, I don't think he's genuinely in a relationship with an ashtray. Other than
no, the ashtray is gone. The ashtray was just like a fling.
All right. Well, see, even still, I like, but like, is this could be like into the future where there are going to be probably more and more lonely people out there. They know, because like people don't talk to one another anymore. We've kind of gone like the idea of like talking to strangers, we're just on our phones too much. It's all gone like we'll communicate to one another through like a messaging app for emojis. But
you're going to find weird, creepy people falling in love with their oversized iPad.
Yeah. Yeah, all it takes is like it's like the Ready Player One, where they have like stimulation packages, where you can feel if you get punched, you feel it where you get punched, but like then it also have stuff for the groin in case you're not getting punched, or maybe you are.
But anyway, do you know how he keeps up with his two wives? Kind of sex drive.
Oh yeah, because I imagine he gets very, very tired.
Yeah, he says that he gets his animal passion from his regular diet of steak, chicken, and fish.
So he's like a carnivore diet, is it?
I don't know the fuck what he's doing, but he divorced poor old Margot. He married these two other younger models, and he says, "When I eat meat, sex has a different energy. It's animalistic. My wives enjoy."
Go on.
My wives enjoy dirty sex, so I eat the right amount of meat, and it makes me have better orgasms than if I eat vegetables.
All right, so like dirty sex. He enjoys dirty, so his meat makes him dirty. I honestly think people who are on these carnivore diets, a large amount of them are going to develop bowel cancer from eating way too much red meat.
And he says that the wives enjoy nipple clamps and growling in the bedroom, and his meat diet means that while he has sex with them 5 times a day, he also has to masturbate 8 times a day.
Oh, okay. That seems like a lot of work. Like, at least he's covering. Remember, we covered a story where it's like how many times you have to ejaculate in order to stave off bowel cancer. And it was something preposterous. Like, I don't know what it worked out, but like, I'm imagining he's getting over that daily quota. It must be air at the end of it. It must be, and there's a little bit of dust comes out after that.
It just.
But like, do you ever see some of the ones that eat raw meat as well? Those kind of carnivore people.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's one of these.
But like, I always think that's like a cycle. Not like it's just a mentality thing. You think, oh, man, eat red meat, man turned animal-like. So they just start like it's kind of like there's like a white coat thing. Like if people put on a science coat, they start thinking more mathematically. If people dress as a painter, they start becoming more creative. There's like a jiu-jitsu guy who wears denim, and he calls them PEDs, performance enhancing denim, because he has it in his head that these are the clothes I wear when I lift weights. So he associates denim with lifting weights. So he feels he can perform better when he's wearing denim. And he says there's a lot of studies that go into this. But I kind of feel like people who say like, oh, when I eat meat, I feel more animalistic. I think that's just because you associate meat with fucking being like a tiger, when you're not really like a tiger. You're just pretending to be like a tiger. Kind of like a 5-year-old pretending to be a plane.
You mean a 5-year-old's not a plane?
Well, I wouldn't run off a cliff if I was them. But like, yeah, it's just kind of like people go, "Oh, I feel so manly, aggressive." Like, I remember there's a comedian took the piss out of Joe Rogan when he was on his podcast. Talked to me, he's like, "Do you ever feel like when you eat meat, do you feel like more kind of aggressive?" He's like, "No, fuck, man, it's just a piece of meat." I don't fucking feel the need to like go hunting or go in the outback.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's a bit.
I kind of feel like it's just a mentality thing that people who say that it's just that are associating meat, because there's plenty of animals that eat grass. Like cows eat grass; they're animals.
Yeah, we can't eat grass.
Yeah, there's a lot of like vegetarian animals that like that would like fuck people up that are quite like animalistic, being animals, like that don't eat meat.
Yeah, but you see, they're not going to fuck people up because people are pussies and they just shoot them.
Not necessarily. There's plenty of like people who had guns and got fucked up by animals.
Yeah, but like if you're gonna, you should only kill, or you should only eat animals that you can kill with your hands.
I don't agree with that. I think we've moved on past that. Like, we've. That's like saying, like, you should only eat foods that you can actually make yourself.
Yeah, like you should only eat food that you can like.
Can you cook?
That's common sense. Yeah.
All right, but like, no, because then I wouldn't be able to have like a chicken Rogan Josh. I don't know the recipe of chicken Rogan Josh, but I know the person down the road that I can give money to will make a pretty decent chicken Rogan Josh and deliver it to my house for a reasonable price. Like,
yeah, or you could make it yourself for cheaper.
Well, no, it wouldn't be as good, and I wouldn't have the recipe. Like, I think that's nonsense the way it's going on. I think we'll get back onto the sex because I'll cry. So like, so is it just that like he's now become a carnivore? That he's now started eating carnivore diet and like having sex 5 times a day? Because I don't know how much he didn't really get into too much how much sex he's having with Margaret. I think he was just kind of getting into. Last time we were talking about her kind of like how she's very self-conscious, and I think she even got plastic surgery as it's said, no, not at all. but even on like the like clamps thing, like if they're blow up dolls, wouldn't that like deflate them?
I don't think they're like there's a fault with them. Like they're not. They look like they're made of silicone or something.
Oh right, yeah, high quality.
Yeah, they're not like they're not like the ones you see fucking lads just have sitting in the back of the car, like blown up ones.
Yeah, they're actually proper ones. Yeah, maybe they do like on it. Imagine he was wearing them himself.
Yeah, like I kind of wonder, is this a way for him to like get some sort of a weird kink out of his system that he's like, oh no, it's not me that's into sticking things up my ass, it's the sex doll.
Yeah, exactly. He's just facilitating an urge or need of a sex doll that he's just came up with himself. That it has.
Like, but his friends and family are obviously idiots as well, because like his marriage to Margot, like it was a traditional wedding ceremony with like a lot of guests.
I imagine people just like to piss up. Like if you were to throw a random party, if you were to say, "Here, lads, I'm gonna have this whole do on. It's gonna be sex dolls there." Like you're gonna get people showing up just for a drink.
Traditional ceremony though would indicate that there's a priest and stuff involved.
Once again, money talks. See, that's why I wonder, like the story behind the story. Like what is this like a mental man's thing, or is he doing this as a way of trying to like flame some kind of online like creators career for himself as like a kind of like comedy or just kind of skit or like a small series where it's living with the sex dolls and it's him and like just dolls and it's just like there's just close up as their face as he says stupid things to them, you know, like I kind of just feel like he's trying to be a creator. Like that's what I think it is. I don't think he's seriously in love with an ashtray.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of think he might be serious.
In love with a sex ashtray. Maybe he is, but yeah, maybe his friends are enablers. They're like, this is kind of funny. We're getting kind of kicks out of it. You know, everyone has a friend that like they're laughing at, but their friend thinks they're laughing with them. So they're like, hey, I am very funny. All my friends laugh at me. Really, they're like, you're a fucking moron. And if you don't have a friend like that, that's you. It's quite clear that's you. Because we all have friends like that.
It's a Shite Talk advice of the day.
And we're talking behind your back. Will we move on to Farting Girl?
On that bombshell.
On that bombshell. Moving on from Sex Doll Guy to Farting Girl. And she's found love.
She's found love.
So this girl kind of came about. She was she first came about because she was on a reality dating show. Yeah. Where in order to become a resident in America, get a visa for America, she had to convince a guy to marry her whatever I think it was like 30 days. So she has 30 days to find a husband, get this guy to fall in love with him, and get married. So she gets her visa. And I don't know how far she got. I don't think she won it. But that's how she first came to prominence. And after that, she's like, oh, well, what now? And was kind of looking up to OnlyFans as an option to make some money. And looked into kind of weird kinks that people are into and seeing that there was a wide open market, no pun intended, for farting. And then it was selling, I think it was like, what, $1,000 a jar farting. And she was selling like 50 jars a week or something like that. She was making it prosperous, like a sum of money. So I think it was like £75,000 at one stage, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think she was making like.
I love how we keep just jumping between currencies as well.
She was making between 37 and 75 grand a month.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we found out early this year, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, that she was brought to hospital because of her farts. She was farting too much, and we're like, Jesus, the cringe of the doctor that has to tell her that like it's because you're farting too much. And she was given medication to stop her from farting, but then she was like, I've just kind of changed my fucking diet, and I'm now just like really liking this bean salad. She's like Australian, in case you couldn't get it from the accent. And she's just basically changed her diet, cut down probably the protein shakes. And she followed my advice of having tomato soup and chicken. It's quite clear. She didn't say it. She didn't say this, but we know by her drinking soup that she listens to our podcast. Anyway, moving on from that part. Now we've found that she's found love.
She's found love, with a fan, no less.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
So she decided after being told that she, should probably no longer fart in jars because it's causing her serious health issues, that she needed to go on a little holiday so that she could process everything that happened during the chaos of the last few weeks. So she decided she was going to go to, I don't even know where this is, and I can't even pronounce it, so I'm not even going to bother.
No, pronounce it, I'll tell you where it is. I have really bad geography. You'll mispronounce it. If anything, people will get like a kick out of it.
I'm just going to look it up.
No, pronounce it, and then I'll tell you where it is.
So apparently it's a British territory.
All right, I was going to say Scotland.
Some little British-owned island in the Bahamas.
All right, so not Scotland.
So off she went. Off she went, and she posted on Instagram. She said, "I'm in this little island with somebody really special right now, who I met through the whole fart jar thing." She said, "I got on my flight, sitting in business class, and I have my mask on. This guy keeps glancing over at me and staring at me, and I'm trying to show that I'm smiling with my eyes because he can't see that I'm smiling with my mask. And when our champagne arrives before we take off, I take my mask off, and as I'm about to have a drink, I take a picture of myself. And he's like, do you want me to take a better picture? I can take a picture from a higher angle." So he took the picture, and he says, "You look familiar." And basically, he knew the whole fart jar story.
Oh yeah, but like he obviously listens to podcasts as well. But he probably smelled her from a mile away, quite clearly. He's like, "What's that stench?" "Oh, I know that. I have a jar of that in my house." "Oh, can't be. Is it? She keeps smiling with her eyes. However you do that."
She said he was very aware that I was fart jar girl.
Yeah,
and we were basically talking about fart jars the whole flight.
Oh, like how long of a conversation is fart jar? Because I'm pretty sure where she was going, it's about fucking like 2.5 to 3 hour journey on the plane.
He was probably just like, "Oh yeah, I bought some fart jars off you."
Yeah, exactly. But that conversation managed to last 2.5 to 3 hours.
And she was probably like, "Oh, what scent was your favorite scent?" And he was like, "Oh, I really like the one smelling whatever."
he was probably giving her suggestions of like how to capture the smell. He was probably listening to podcasts and said, "I heard somewhere like that you should probably make a candle. Have you ever looked down the candle routes?" And took all our good ideas.
He was probably just sitting beside her, hoping that she would fart and get a freebie.
Oh yeah, he had a jar ready and all. He's like, "I'm just gonna leave this open here. If you fart, you know you fart. If you don't, you don't." Airplane farts are the worst.
Airplane farts. Why?
Sometimes I get this, like, and I don't know what. Maybe I should go to a doctor because of this, but like, I get a really bad pain in my stomach, and it's just like trapped wind when I'm on a plane. It's just like for something happens, it's just. I think it's like the altitude creates like a vacuum or something in my stomach. It just gives me really bad pain, and then it isn't until I land, and it gets a lot worse, and then I just fart, and then everything's okay again. But like the smell of it, it's like it smells like the contents of the airplane. If you get me. Do you ever fart and it smells like a place? It smells like that's my friend's house, or that's
just stuff that happens on a plane. Like I find that if I fly somewhere that like I don't fucking shit properly for like days after it.
Yeah, sometimes if I'm on holidays, I know when I was in Italy, I was like, it's been 3 days and I haven't taken a shit. It's like
like.
But once I take my first shit, it becomes more regular. It comes like my regular shit routine returns.
Something to do with flying.
I love how open we are on this podcast. Yeah, but so maybe I take it that he wouldn't get any freak because of the whole like thing, lack of farting thing.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he was aiming for.
But I definitely think people do fart on planes because it is a whole thing.
Oh, people definitely fart on planes.
Yeah, people don't have the same problem. Yeah, so
people don't sell their farts in jars.
Yes, people do a lot of random things. Should we move on to my favorite serial? Not my favorite serial killer, but the one that I've picked as my serial killer.
Go on. Who is your serial killer?
So he's known as the UK's most dangerous prisoner, Ken.
Is it Charlie Bronson?
No.
He's the world's most dangerous, or the UK's most dangerous prisoner.
Well, this guy, apparently, according to this article that I only found on the internet and glanced over, your man is Robert Muesli.
Never heard of
him. Most people hasn't, and he only killed one person outside prison. But he killed, I think, 3 or 4 people inside prison.
And what's his reasoning behind this now?
The reason why he killed people inside prison was because they are rapists and sex offenders.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so exactly. Most people go, oh, right, fair enough, he killed them. So it was perceived like as, I'm actually doing a community service here. And I think it's 3 people whom were still in prison. He was sent to solitary confinement because he couldn't be allowed mix with other prison people in there. I think he first killed
prisoners.
Yeah, those 2. So like, I think it was in the early 2000s. He wasn't given a TV, like solitary confinement, didn't have a TV, didn't have anything. So in order to pass the boredom, he asked for a pet, and he said, "I promise you, if you give me a pet, I will not eat it." And I think his request for a pet was denied, probably because he said, "I promise I won't eat it." Usually, if a person said, "I promise I won't eat it," they definitely will eat it.
Yeah, like childhood has taught us.
Really? I promise I won't eat it.
What's the bib for? The knife and the fork.
Yeah, exactly. And the drool currently coming out of your face. Yeah, so he only gets to see an hour of sunlight a day, and it was I think his request for a pet was, like I said, was denied. He also asked for a TV, and I think he might ask for like a newspaper or something to keep him up with the current affairs. He says, I don't really like the cockroaches and spiders that are currently in the cell. I'd much prefer a gerbil or a hamster. He also wants a bit of classical music as well. He says, why can't I have some music tapes? This is how old it was. or listen to some beautiful classical music.
I think he's missed the whole what solitary confinement means
Yeah,
part.
but like, yeah, no, but if you're gonna have to keep like usually solitary confinement. It's for like short. It's like a punishment. You might say spend a week or two there, because of whatever, and then you're released back into the population of the prison. But like, if he's going to be,
It depends what you do.
yeah, if he's there killing fucking people because they're sex offenders and they're robbers, or he doesn't like to look at them, then he probably has to stay in solitary confinement the whole time. Like, then you're kind of like, well, he's here for life. Like, he's not getting out. I think there was like, when I was looking up, they were talking to his nephew, and his nephew was like, was almost taking his side on the whole thing. He was kind of like, oh, well, like, he's a murderer and we know what he did, but like, you can't turn your back on family. He's kind of giving the whole, well, he's family kind of side of it, things, and like, I have to love him. He's my uncle. He has never met him before in his life. So his nephew had developed like a weirder fascination with him as well. So
yeah, like I don't know.
So what do you think of my serial killer then?
Yeah, he's not Ted Bundy.
He probably isn't. Like I said, I went home ugly early. I just came across a serial killer and realized you said I had to find a serial killer, and I found a serial killer. I think he was arrested. I don't think he was living in the UK at the time. That's the thing. I think because there's like a 20-minute kind of short documentary about him. I only listened to half of it. And I think he like committed crime somewhere else, and then I think asked to be brought to the UK to serve the rest of his time. You know, you can do that after a certain amount of years. Yeah,
they fucked him off.
You can ask to go back to your original country to finish out your sentence.
To finish out his life sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was dubbed the UK's most dangerous prisoner across the UK. But I don't know where necessary or if he was. But that was the guy that I was meant to tell you about. I wouldn't say, like I said, I wouldn't be like hanging on posters. It's more just, I think it's fascinating that who he kind of like he targeted. It was kind of he had like a hero complex almost, and it was like kind of like Punisher style, going after people who were bad for society. It didn't go into like how they murder him, but I can imagine Netflix picking something like this up, and there will be a Netflix doc because they love serial killers.
Yeah, Netflix loves serial killers.
They really do. There is like everything about Netflix is a serial killer. But
it's because like people
are fascinated by serial.
People are obsessed. Yeah, like people are obsessed with like death and stuff.
Yeah, that is true. Like horror is like very popular genre, and then obviously serial killers. So I think like my whole family is like are obsessed with it. They watch all the serial killer stuff. I remember like when people used to watch like TV on like TV on Sky, and that was a common thing to do. Like it would be air crash investigations and FBI files would be like Dad's go-to shows. So that was the serial killer story we were meant to get to last week. So if people were like, "Oh, I can't believe we didn't mention what serial killer he was most into," now
you know.
Now you know. If you don't know, now you know. You know. And then we move on to our idiots of the week. This is a part of the show that was created for idiots by idiots. And it's where we talk about dumb things, and sometimes apologize for talking about dumb things, which we call dumb, but we already calling people the wrong people dumb. Well, we'll leave that for now, because we're now onto a man who tried to impress his girlfriend and failed miserably. What did he try?
So, like, have you ever tried to impress a girl by doing something? I would have thought.
I have a story.
Oh, okay, go on.
I once tried to impress a girl by jumping off a bridge and really hurt myself.
How old were you?
Oh, 13, 14. I wasn't that young.
Right, this is what I was just going to say. Like,
Yeah.
when I think of stuff like this, I think, you know, like 13, 14, 15,
Yeah, that's
maybe
yeah.
maybe 16.
I remember doing other dumb things like when Jackass was big,
Yeah,
definitely
and everybody
stupid
was like,
shit like that to impress
yeah,
to impress people, but it never worked.
yeah, yeah. Like me and my uncle, when my uncle's only a few years older than me, we used to jump off sheds.
Yeah.
Like that used to be our thing. Like we just used to jump like off. But it didn't matter how high the shed. We'd jump off sheds.
Yeah, like my cousins had like a 1-story house and a trampoline, and they just try to jump off the 1-story house onto the trampoline.
Anyway, right. So this guy, he's 28. This lad is 28 years old. Way too old to be
trying
trying this shite.
Yeah.
So he decided he was going to impress his girlfriend with fireworks.
Oh God. Where did he put the firework?
Right. So he decided he was going to impress his girlfriend with fireworks, and he ended up burning down 284 hectares of land, which is like a mile long strip of land, and causing 500,000 pounds sterling worth of damage, and needing 100 firefighters to come out and actually put the fire out. And he got charged with destruction to peatland habitats, destruction to wildlife, which included nesting birds that are in a site of special scientific interest. So, like, he killed all them. And yeah, he amassed. The bill was £410,000 for the National Trust, and just to call out the firemen, like that's how much the fire brigade bill was: £410,000 and 167,000 to try and repair some of the damage.
Like, what was he said he was letting off fire, but like, what was the whole thing? Was he like trying to tell the girl that like it's like these surprise pregnancy things, or was it like, or was he just like, let's go for a drive and we'll let off these fireworks I bought at Halloween I've left over?
It doesn't say. It just says he tried to impress his girlfriend, set off some fireworks, burnt down half the town.
She's currently studying environmental science. Wasn't impressed.
I'd imagine she's probably looking for a new boyfriend because he's in jail. He got sentenced to a year in prison.
No bright spark there, huh? Oh, the puns will come thick and fast. Never try to impress anybody. Keep the bar low.
Keep the bar.
Because you know what? If you impress them once, you'll be expecting to. That's just how you're going to impress them all the time. You're going to have to keep up in the ante. Because like you do the same trick twice, they're not impressed anymore. They're like, oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, she's definitely expecting him to like burn down 2 miles worth of.
Possibly a small school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if he never tries, he's never expecting anything.
But like, I wonder, like, surely he thought, this is not a safe place to set off fireworks.
No, he didn't.
Like,
yeah, like, do you ever see people who are? You can kind of look back at them and go, like, are you using your brain at all? Like, he probably went to this area. He said, "Oh, it's lovely there, and I have these fireworks. I'll just let them and not paid any attention that like it's an incredibly dry area that he's letting them off in, and that it'd be very easily to cause a fire. But no, he's just like, oh yeah, well, it's really lovely, and fireworks are lovely, and she'll love fireworks in this lovely area. Because what's more than like firework going off over like a rocky mountain cliff or wherever it was,
and like fireworks are legal, so like I'm assuming somebody at some stage would have been like, oh, like when he was a kid setting off fireworks, somebody would have been like, "Oh look, don't do this, don't do that." Like they're illegal here, and everybody knows how to safely set off fireworks.
Do they? No, like I imagine fire brigade people would be like, I don't know about that. I've seen one I've definitely heard of people lighting them out of their asshole.
Yeah, but you know how to do that safely.
Like the idea, Irish people let them off very safe all the time. Is like we used to point them at each other, repeaters. I know a friend. No, he's not a friend. A guy who lit it the wrong way, so it came at him. So it was like point blank.
Was this you, Mark?
No, it was not. Damn girl wasn't impressed either.
That's a Mark story right there.
Well, no, it wasn't. I always wanted to have one of these repeater fights. I'm glad I probably didn't. I probably would have if someone gave me a repeater and offered me to a duel. I gone, yes, you are on. Which way's on? Which way's do I point this? It turns out it isn't that obvious. Yeah, so like I said, never impress anybody. Be yourself. Keep the bar low.
Yeah.
That's the Shite Talk advice to men. Keep the bar low.
It's Shite Talk's advice, full stop.
Oh, men and women. Even women.
Yeah. Doesn't even matter. Just keep the bar low.
Oh, never aim to be anything.
Never try.
Never try. Because you only can fail if you try. You can never fail if you never try.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Who doesn't want a perfect record?
Also, always be pessimistic because you'll never be disappointed.
We're going to talking about our apology story.
Right, go on.
So we're talking. Last week we mentioned Novak Djokovic, and his whole ordeal that he's having with the Australian government.
His whole debacle.
It was kind of like it was probably the biggest story last week, and it wasn't really a Shite Talk story. But then I found an angle that I thought would make it a Shite Talk story, and then it didn't. Then I forgot about that angle and just went on some entire rant. And I'm not even sure what we talked about, but we were told by one of our good friends and listeners that that we butchered the entire story. Imagine that, Ken. After not doing any research or knowing really anything about the story, we got stuff wrong. So what necessarily did we get wrong?
So at the start, it wasn't the Australian sports minister that said, "Oh yeah, you're fine, you can come in." It was Tennis Australia. All
right. It seems like that's kind of like you're clutching at straws there.
Yeah, well, the reason for them being on Idiots of the Week last week was because it was the Australian government, because the claim was that the sports minister said, "Oh, no, it's fine to come in." Then the Prime Minister was like, No, it's not. Right. But turns out it was a non-government body, nothing to do with them at all, that was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's fine, come in." And then the government were like, No. And he also filled out his visa arseways because he left it too long to apply for a recovery visa.
All right. So like, so and now he's actually now got like deported or he left on his own free will, but he's possibly not going to be allowed there for next 3 years over this whole thing.
Yeah,
and like the whole thing was a bit of a shit show on both ends. Like he like you said, applied too late, had COVID, but then went to a charity thing where he probably infected a lot of people who are already down on their luck. And then start boasting about how he's going to be playing tennis because even though he wasn't vaccinated, which just alerted the authorities to, there's a guy coming over here who's not vaccinated and is bragging about it. So the Australian government is like, well, there can't be one rule for one and we can't be England, basically. Let's crack down on this asshole. Like, Boris Johnson probably fucked up the whole thing with the whole tennis thing for him. Just bars flaunting like, let's all have parties, let's do parties, and then Australia's like, we can't have one rule for one, and there's like, let's just like go really hard on this guy over this whole thing.
And then his mother starts saying that he was being tortured. Remember that?
Oh yeah, his mother said he was being tortured. I think where is he from? Because he's from
Serbia.
Serbia. Yeah, because I was going to say he's from a certain country. There used to be one country, and then there's several smaller countries around it, and they get really pissed off when you mix up which part of the country they are from. So that's why I was like, I don't want to say he's from somewhere else, and it's really from somewhere else because they get annoyed at that kind of thing.
He's from Serbia.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us to another idiot of the week is his father.
Yeah.
His father is now saying that that his deportation from Australia was an assassination attempt. It was a failed assassination attempt. He posted on Instagram, he said, "The assassination attempt on the best sportsman in the world is over. 50 bullets to Novak's chest. See you in Paris."
50 bullets to Novak's chest?
Yeah, so his dad's a bit of a dope.
His parents are on drugs. His parents are like, my son was shot 50 times.
Yeah.
He's the greatest sports star on earth.
And now he's like, people start calling him out on it, and his dad's like, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. And they're like, well, what other way do you mean? Like, assassination attempt?
Yeah, he was physically assassinated by 50 bullets to the chest. Maybe he meant like, because like English isn't his first language. Maybe he's like, it was a character assassination rather than an actual assassination. And 50 bullets to the chest was the 50 kind of lies that the Australian go. Like, I'm clutching at straws here to make it sound probably better than it actually is. But anyway, last week's idiot of the week was around the court case, but was for a very different reason. And now that I had a good night's sleep, well, sort of good night's sleep, it wasn't great. But I feel a little bit refreshed, and I've read through the notes again. And what we were meant to talk about was over the live stream of his court case. So this is the first hearing, I think it was, where there was pandemania in Australia over, and tennis fans around the world and journalists were all logging into this Microsoft link live stream. And on the article that I read, it was like 200 people were logged in, which doesn't seem a lot. Like, how many people did that fucking guy fire from Zoom? It was like 900 people, wasn't it? Or was it something possibly silly like that? Well, yeah, I think it was 900 people. But anyways, he started to have technical difficulties around the whole live stream thing. Obviously, the people who were organising the live stream had no idea what they were at, and because it was Australia, probably didn't do a whole lot of live streams or Zoom calls. They probably could actually just call around people's house because they were able to sequester the virus at various times over the last 2 years. But the organisers clearly didn't mute everybody because silly noises, Ken, was here. Techno music and people playing memes came over the speakers. So people basically were hijacking the Zoom call, and because the people who are organising the Zoom or the live stream link couldn't figure out how to mute everybody, the internet took the piss, basically. What was really weird about it was that they didn't properly tell people. So, like, once these things started to happen, like, there's just noises coming through, they were like, they had mentioned it, but not everybody had heard it over the clutter of, like, all the noises, that the techno music, the silly sounds, and all the other things. Not everyone heard it. So it was just like, if anyone's been on a Zoom call or anything like that, you can see all faces, and there's just a lot of people just left kind of looking very confused, wondering why they can't see the court hearing.
This reminds me of, do you remember that, was it like a council meeting in the UK?
Yeah.
Where your one was like late, and they were all like bitching, and they were like, "Oh, fuck you," and they were all like trying to mute it and stuff, and no, they were all like fucking 700 years old. They didn't know what they were doing.
Oh yeah, or your man who was on a Zoom call was decided to go for a shower, and thought people didn't realize people could see him, and brought the laptop into the shower with him.
As you do.
Yeah, because I can hear it over the sound of the shower, and people could see and hear what he was doing. Like Australia hadn't had that because so they weren't used to it, and because they didn't mute everybody and allowed whoever they wanted to come into this live stream and broadcast whatever they wanted. Well, the internet does what the internet does and took the absolute piss. At one point, there was pornographic material flashed on screen, so people just basically went onto their local porn sites and then screen shared their contents in which they found
a man with his sex toys
and nipples on his chest. Then they decided to abandon the link and didn't make it clear. So people were just left listening and watching porn and techno music and people laughing in the background and not realizing that they've just left that link and it's now created another link. One journalist who was on the link said, we've heard techno blasting, giggling, shouting, and someone just saying, no, 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 repeatedly in a slightly pained voice. Good man, no. So the whole thing was like a pretty shit show, and this was at the start of the hearing, before any of the other nonsense happened between the Australian government and the government body of tennis and Djokovic and his parents saying he was assassinated.
I think his parents saying he was assassinated is the best thing that's happened out of this.
I think the Noel thing, I was imagining all these journalists waiting to hear, and then all they hear is some person getting rode saying Noel over and over. Just be taking it in. I think that live stream was probably the best. Yeah, because I remember there's several. I would have thought them to be trustworthy news sites were reporting that he was arrested and saying the Australian government are an actual joke right now. And then it came out that no, he wasn't arrested. It was just Serbian news journalists were saying that, and you should really get more than one source for information. Being a journalist, you shouldn't have to be told this. You absolute wankers.
Australia though is brilliant. Australians don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They're like, well, I won't come back here ever again. Good luck.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, there's a Simpsons meme about it. It was just so what you're saying is good luck, but no, and it was we never say good luck. It was something like that. It was just basically, we don't take any fucks. We don't give zero fucks. And you don't follow our rules. You don't get into our country. Good luck to you.
Do you remember?
But not good luck to you. Go on.
There was Australia. There was something happened a while ago. There was a mass shooting thing, and it was reported everywhere as a terrorist incident, and the Prime Minister came out and his press conference was this is not a terrorist incident.
Oh really?
See you later. Yeah, they was see you later. Okay.
This wasn't this is something randomly that happened.
Yeah, whereas America's oh my god,
that was a mass shooting. I don't know if I think that might have been in New Zealand, wasn't that shooting?
I think there was one in Australia.
All right. We should probably learn.
Maybe it's New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah, we should probably learn our lesson and not go into stories that we don't have the full backing, like a certain Irish online journalist post that has a lad's name in it.
What?
I think people can connect the dots that are fairly tuned in. Moving on to a girl who travelled 500 miles to try pass her driving test. So her name is Constant Camberfer. Camberfer. Sorry.
Good name.
Yeah. Let's call it Constance. She does in the rest of the article. She made her way to London, up the Isle of Mull, which is located off the west coast of Scotland, and it's part of the Inner Hebrides, whatever that is. She basically had failed her test one prior time and had a huge problem with roundabouts, and was like, I need to figure out just an easier way of passing my test. So she constantly decided to take drastic actions, and after, like I said, developing that fear of like roundabouts, she heard about a place in England that only had 90% pass rate in summer months, mind you, and only had one roundabout.
Only in summer months.
Well, in summer months, the pass rate was about 90%. She was sitting this test, Ken, in December, so I think that's why that article maybe decided to throw that in there, like give a dog a bone kind of a thing. So off she goes. Like, I kind of feel like this is something people do in Ireland a little bit. Like, I remember like around like the NCT, which is like your car test, make sure your car road safe. There's certain places I've often heard people talk about where they have a higher pass rate than others. And I remember even around, because I had to do my test 3 times, I remember people telling me like, oh, I hear here and here has a really good. I remember Donegal was once suggested as a possible option in order to
Donegal?
go. Yeah, Donegal apparently has the highest pass rate, and also has the highest road fatalities in Ireland. I'm not saying those two things are correlated, but they're just two.
But they're kind of correlated.
They're kind of correlated. They're also maniacs and really into rally racing.
Yeah.
So like, it basically was kind of single track roads and only had one roundabout. And I remember, once again, like, I was thinking about, after failing the second time, doing my test in Clonlochan, because Clonlochan is like basically like that. It's a one-way system. I knew it because all my friends were around there. So I was like, well, there isn't really anything to watch out for. There isn't that even too much people running across the road, like suicide children like that we have in Naas, and people having conversations in the middle of the road. So like, there's none of that happens in Dublin, because people don't slow down. So I thought, this has a fairly safe pass rate, and it's a one-way system, and I know the area. So I was kind of like on track with her when I was trying to pass my test. So I kind of feel like what she was going through.
But my uncle did his test in. He deliberately done his test like up in city centre. Yeah,
because it's one-way systems.
Yeah, and he booked it for like he booked his test deliberately for like, I don't know, 4:30 or something in the evening, so he would hit there, and his test lasted an hour, but like he only moved about a mile.
That is smart. That's like, I'm just gonna be,
and they can only test you on what they see you doing.
You just push it, break stop.
Yeah.
So there was only one teeny tiny problem with this whole idea. It was a 10-hour trip by car, and involved a ferry crossing in order to get to London in order to sit her test.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm going to say there was only one time. There was a few other small problems, like she didn't have a car for once.
I was going to ask this, like, how did she get there?
Yeah, she didn't have a car in order to drive to London, and she couldn't find a instructor to drive 10 hours out of their way in order for her to use their car. Now, she was very lucky enough because she found, they said, a local woman. I don't know if that means local to her town, as in she knew her from down the road. It was by sounds of it, was a very small village. And everyone was like, yeah, sure, use my car on this 10-hour fucking trip to London.
That was a good impression, that was.
Who cares about the car? Probably might need a service after it, and the clutch is probably going to be fucked because you can't actually drive the car. Or did she take? Because she says she took to Facebook and was a local woman in like London area where she was doing the test, said, yeah, travel up from Scotland, use my car, everything's grand, go nuts. And then she had to make her own way home. I don't know about that. But yeah, if it was the first one of the old lady just offering her car for to drive 10 hours. And like the thing is that she says she has that fear of roundabouts. Amount of fucking roundabouts that she probably came across on her way from Scotland to London surely got her over of that fear of roundabouts.
Yeah.
Maybe double down on
it. I don't understand. I don't get how people have a fear of roundabouts.
Well, just because, like, when did you learn to drive? Like, when you were 18?
Kind of before that.
Okay, 17, 16.
No, yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely wasn't like 12.
Yeah, okay. So, like, you learned how to drive pretty early on. So, like, it's kind of hard to remember. I remember, I don't know, hills being like a particular problem for me. I used to hate hills. So, like, everyone had to overcome certain kind of driving things where they couldn't get their head around it, or pulling out onto roads. You kind of have to develop a judgment of when you can pull out or when you can push in. But then you realize people have brakes, and you just go for it, and hopefully they hit the brakes. But not on your test. And so, like, yeah. So I can understand where she had this phobia of, and then I've seen people on roundabouts who probably should have a fear and an awareness that they're shite at roundabouts. Yeah, so she went to like how beautiful it was driving up this coast, and that she nearly went into the water, staring out the window. She didn't really go into too much detail of what went wrong in the test. Like, it was only her second time ever sitting a test, which I think is bizarre. She failed once, and she's like, no, I have to drive a 10-hour journey to London in order to sit a test where it's one-way roads.
Yeah, like she's clearly not ready to do a driving test.
Yeah, like I kind of like, I'd be kind of down with places having like continued assessment rather than necessarily a test, where over a course of like several weeks or months, a driving instructor takes you from learning how to go through the gears to reversing around a corner to parallel parking to ordinary parking to like merging onto a motorway, and they train you and they look at you and they put you through several tests themselves and wait until they feel they're confident and say, yeah, this person can drive, and I'm satisfied that this person can, and at least that's a continuous assessment. So there isn't this pressure of tests, because people get test anxiety. But like, she only failed once other time. Isn't like, you ever see people fail like 8 or 9 times and are still going for her, and are just like, they just suffer really bad from test anxiety. Like, they just get so stressed in like these situations, and it kind of like amounts, because since they fail so many times, it just gets worse every time.
Yeah, like, I think some people just shouldn't drive.
Yeah, there's probably that as well. There probably is a case for that. Now, anytime I did my test, other than turn left here, turn right, it's now time for the reverse around the corner. That's all the instructions I got off my driving my test person, and he was giving her advice. Like, according to this, he said, like, this is like quotations. He mentioned a few times that I was staying too far into the middle of the road for his liking, and she took this as just helpful, friendly advice. But like, a few times he said, "You're going a bit close to the middle of the road there." And she just kept ignoring that, like, his instructions to stop going towards the cars on the opposite side of the road. And she's like, oh, he's so friendly. He keeps mentioning, like, not to hit with her cars and watch out for that person crossing the road. And she's like, just ignored him. She's like, why did I fail?
I know somebody who I'm not going to say who it was. I know somebody who they were doing their test, and the instructor was like, "Okay, stop for a second," and they stopped, and the instructor was like, "Get out." And the instructor got into the driving seat, and he's like, "I'm driving back to the test center."
Oh Jesus, it was that bad.
Yeah.
Like, what made them think that they could sit a test? It's like usually your like tester would be like, "Yeah, you're ready for the test. Go for it. You should fly through it."
Yeah, like, I think it was a combination of things. Like it was like nerves, and it was a test in. Do you remember? I passed my test in Talkers. Do you remember Talkers had a test center?
Yeah,
I did mine there, and they always used to bring you to Newbridge.
yeah,
You didn't go to Nace, so like this person had never driven around Nace and stuff, and they always did their test in where they always did like their lessons and stuff going around Newbridge, and then they practiced driving around Newbridge, and when they went to do the test, it was around Nace.
yeah. Which is like I said,
So there's,
conversations in the middle of the road, people just dashing
Yeah.
across the road, people like like it,
sort of like complete panic, and I think that's what happened.
yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. Like first time I did my test, I was like, you kind of psych yourself up, and people that are no way helpful. They're like, oh well, do you know pressure's on now? Like such and such passed first time, so did they, and so did they, and then like around the same time, all my friends were doing it, and I think two of them passed first time. They made like which should have been counted as pink marks, but they passed. So I kind of felt a little bit like bit annoyed by the whole thing. But like at one stage when I was reversing around a bend, I was so nervous, my knee was bouncing off the steering wheel. Like as I was trying to clutch out, I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't ready to sit the test at that stage. Like I said, like like your first time, especially when people are like, oh, you have to pass the first time, like kind of gets to you.
And first time I did my test, I failed because you was like you were in the wrong lane on a roundabout, and I went back to my like the guy that I did my test with, because I was like, this makes no sense to me. Like it's a single lane roundabout, and he was like, yeah, that is a single lane roundabout. Like how can you be in the wrong lane in a single lane roundabout?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's my question too.
Yeah, I think sometimes they try to like, it's like this. There's all this like mystique about driving tests, like don't get around lunchtime because they could be hungry, or they could be going for their break, or earlier on in the day they might, or late on the day, it's one or the other. Like they've already passed several people, so they can't seem to be passing too many people, so they fail the other ones or whatever, or they might be more critical on you. And then there's like certain testers that are kind of known for being pricks that people are worried about. Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I think we got a good show over that. I'm sure people have driving related stories. If they want to get in contact and share their driving related stories, they should.
They've learned their lessons.
We've made our apologies. We apologise to the Australian government. Not to Djokovic's family.
Yeah, no, fuck them.
And we finally revealed the serial killer.
Yeah, you finally have a serial killer, Mark.
Yep, there we go. Moving on my life. I can now enjoy Netflix. Like all
You're living it up.
Living up. We'll be back next week with another show. We hope.
Hopefully.
So talk to you then. No.